Hello and good afternoon, everybody. This is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast, where I am very excited about bringing guests to you that will bring us some motivation, inspiration, and education. And we've got a great story to tell today. This is our guest, Jay Ellison, a 2004 graduate of Bowling Green State University with a degree in film production, embarked on a remarkable journey in the heart of the cinematic world. Relocating to Los Angeles, he took his first steps into Hollywood, driven by a profound passion for filmmaking. Jay's early years in Hollywood saw him as a dedicated member of IATSE Local 600, where he honed his craft as a camera assistant. His credits include working on blockbuster films like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Live Free or Die Hard, and Rush Hour 3, as well as popular television shows such as Deadwood, Veronica Mars, and Criminal Minds. In 2007, during the challenging writer's strike, Jay Ellison displayed his adaptability and entrepreneurial spirit by founding Shadowcast Pictures, LLC. Initially conceived as a comprehensive production company encompassing production, post-production, and camera rental divisions, the company evolved in 2012, exclusively focusing on the camera rental sector. The strategic shift came after the untimely passing of one of the company's partners. Jay currently resides in Moorpark, California with his wife, Chrissy Ellison, and his 3 children. He and his wife have been committed supporters of the High Street Art Center and created the Jay and Christine Ellison Scholarship for film students at Bowling Green State University. Jay is an active member of the Moorpark Morning Rotary Club and created the Moorpark Film Festival. Jay's unwavering commitment to the film industry, his early experiences as a camera assistant, and his subsequent role as the owner of Shadowcast Pictures, LLC, reflect his remarkable journey from film school graduate to a successful figure in Hollywood's camera rental business. His story is a testament to his resilience, adaptability, and dedication to the world of cinema. Welcome to the Master Motivation Podcast, Jay.
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here. I'm excited for this. I need to do a cool intro video like that. That's awesome.
Well, I bet you know some people that could probably shoot a good film. We could talk about that. Get some action in there for you.
For sure.
So listen, we scheduled this as many of my guests, late 2023, 2022, and here we are, 2023. A lot has happened since then. I can't wait to just share your story and all that's going on. So first things first, Jay, what is your motivation behind getting involved in the film industry?
It's something I've had a passion for since I was probably 2 years old. The first time I saw Star Wars, A New Hope, you probably, a lot of people probably share the same experience, but that was something special. And I probably watched that over and over and over again so many times, but it was the movie magic that really inspired me and really got my imagination going. Mm-hmm. And so my motivation is I haven't been able to work on an official Star Wars project yet, but I think we're going to get there with all the shows going on. And I'm really working to try and to get on one of these. So I was hoping Gareth Edwards would have something else coming up. I've met him, and he came in and checked some cameras out, some lenses, and he checked out the Kawa anamorphic lenses, and he eventually went and used those to shoot his new movie that just came out, The Creator. They didn't come from us, but was glad to help him out on that. And you never know, he might have another project come up, Star Wars project. So that was one of the defining moments, I would say, starting at 2 years old.
Yeah. Well, I think, so many of us from, the early 70s all the way through the 70s, growing up, Star Wars was the thing. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I don't know if you already knew that, but I love everything about Star Wars. I've seen A New Hope probably 18 billion times. I'm currently working on watching through Ahsoka. I'm struggling with some of the newer Star Wars, programs, series, just because it's starting to get, for me, starting to get away from what the original Star Wars movies were like, but it's still Star Wars, so I still watch it. I'm still a huge fan. And so, growing up, absolutely watching all those movies, and then to be able to share it with my kids, as I'm sure that you're able to share it with your kids. So tell me a little bit more about, growing up, going to school, hobbies, other interests.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a small town in Ohio, just south of Cleveland, called Medina. It was really a like more of like a farm town back then, and it's grown a lot since then. It's
Hmm.
weird. I was just back there in July, and places where there were cornfields are now residential neighborhoods. So it's just really kind of bizarre. A lot of growth,
Kind of like Moorpark.
and it's a lot like Moorpark. It's weird in a lot of ways. It's a lot like Moorpark, uh, although less mountainous. But yeah, we had an old two-screen movie theater we would go to all the time, and then eventually, I think when I was in high school, they built a Regal multiplex, and where I eventually worked. Um, Once that was done, I left my job bagging groceries and went over there because
Hmm.
what's better than getting free movie passes with your job? So yeah, saw a lot of movies during that time. Um, but like I said, I came from a farm town. Um, that's what everything was about, really. There, where it's the home of the Medina bees. Every For the longest time, I think it's allowed in Moorpark now. I think they just changed it, but for the longest time, Medina was the only city in the country where it was legal to have a beehive in your backyard within the city limits. And I think Moorpark allows that now because they're trying to save all the bees
Hmm.
since they've been slowly dying off a little bit. So,
Yeah.
but
How
I
cool.
was originally go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, how cool that you got to work at a movie theater, right? Like, I never worked at a movie theater. All I've really done is martial arts, delivered pizza a little bit when I was a teenager. But we used to have a three, I think it was three theaters. Do we have three theaters in Moorpark way back when? And I just remember going to the gym every day and smelling the popcorn. And then so I'd go to the gym and work out, and then I'd go over to the movie theater and see a movie. And before I knew it, I got to know everybody that worked there, and they ended up giving me passes to go see movies. So I'd be seeing a new movie every day. I'm a huge movie buff, so I'm super excited to talk, more about movies as we go along. But continue on with, growing up in a farm town.
Yeah,
You left that grocery job to go work at the theater, and what happened from
yeah.
there?
Well, I was in high school, and senior year, I was thinking about going into horticulture as a major in college, and so that's kind of like the path that seemed realistic to me. And plant biology, that sort of thing. And then a new class became available my senior year. It was a video class,
Hmm.
which they never had. And so I signed up for that and had a great teacher who had a profound impact on my life, Alex Gabrielson. And anyways, taught this class, and they got a computer uh, with Adobe Premiere on it, which is editing software. And we had video cameras, we were shooting tape, the digital media, none of that existed. So we had this new system that everyone was terrified to touch because it's computer digital. At this point, uh, I had just taken a typewriting class. So I was the last class to learn how to type on a typewriter. From then on, it was computers. So I'm like in that generation where we still had the old merging with the new. So all this new technology was coming fast and furious, the internet, all of that. And so lots of possibilities came about. But we were editing tape, you know, linear editing. So I learned that, but then I decided to dive in and learn the computer editing. And I think at the time I had just seen a John Woo film called Broken Arrow.
Mhm.
And I just thought that movie was a lot of fun, really cool. And I was like, I want to make action movies like that. And so, anyways, The Matrix had come out, and I'm watching John Woo, and that's a lot of that movie pulled from John Woo. And so I got some buddies together, and I was like, hey, I want to make a movie. And I like, who's in? Who wants to do this? And I had a script that I wrote out, and I told everyone, I was like, hey, if you do this, you got to be in 100% committed. When we have to shoot, you got to be there. So I got everyone on board that wanted to be part of it, and we made it happen. And we were running around town, and it was kind of weird at times because we had like airsoft guns we were using, and we're like at parks, with airsoft guns, and so we kind of made it this secret agent film with some action, and so we put it together, did it. I edited the whole thing on Adobe Premiere, and it took a long time because computer processors back then were nowhere near as good as they are today.
Mhm.
But we put it together, and we even I had a buddy that knew 3D animation and was playing around with that. So we had like cool 3D titles. We had like some explosion elements we were able to put in. And so we put it all together, and this teacher was like, this is really good. He's like, I wonder if we could screen this to the whole school. I was like, really? That would be awesome. So we had to go present this to the entire faculty.
Mhm.
And so they had to watch it all and decide if we could screen it or not. And we had made a poster also. And so anyways, I just remember sitting there in the auditorium, every teacher's there. And this is shortly after Columbine had happened. And I remember sitting there with the friends that are all involved, and I'm like sweating. I'm like, this is a terrible idea. We're going to get expelled. We made an action movie with guns, this whole thing. And
Right.
so anyways, we screened it to the faculty, and we got like, it was over, and I'm sitting there going, oh God. And then we got like a standing ovation. They were all clapping. We got approval to screen it. Kids were going to be taken out of a period of class to go watch it. And so like, we were like the heroes of the school because we got everyone out of class for like a day.
Right. Now, what year
Uh,
was this?
This was in 1999.
99. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And so the whole school ended up getting to see this film. And how long was the film?
It was about 25 minutes long.
Okay,
Something like
25
that. It
minutes.
was called
Now,
Disclosure.
how long did it take you to edit it and to film it? Like just so people understand, you made a 25-minute, film. How much time do you think you put into that 25 minutes?
Oh boy. It was weeks to shoot it,
Mm-hmm.
after school for days when everyone had time because everyone was doing sports and other things too. So,
Right.
but it was weeks to film it. I had like park rangers in it. We coordinated with park rangers. We had police officers in it. We shot at a courthouse because my mom worked there, so we had to coordinate all that. So yeah, it was a lot to do, and we shot at a glass factory, and we broke some glass because one of my buddy's parents owned this glass
Nice.
company, and so yeah, it was a lot. And then editing I was at school after school for hours, like at
Hmm.
least from the time, because I think I had early release, so I would come up there and use it, and then I would stay there as long as they would let me every day till the last teacher left and I got kicked out. So it was hours and hours.
But that's the passion in the whole deal, right? I mean, for
Oh yeah,
25 minutes of a project, you put in hours and hours and hours, but it doesn't, it's like when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work at all, right? I mean, you're just so
right.
engrossed in that passion, and you can't wait to see the final product. Now, what did you do from there?
So that we were able to screen it, and the teachers they had one condition. We had gun flares that we had put in post production, we had to take those out. So we could have the effects, but not the sound effects, but not the actual gun flares. Because they didn't want it to seem too real. And with the poster, we had to change the poster. We had to take the guns out of the poster and just have the main character standing there. So we did that. Everyone saw it. Everyone thought it was great. And I just, I just had this feeling where I'm like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is my calling. And it was that moment where I was like, okay, shifting gears, not doing plant biology or horticulture, going into film production. And my parents, everyone were probably like, what? But yeah, from there, I ended up going to Bowling Green State University to their film program. And the film program there was still more of like a film studies program, less of a production program. So I spent the first year there and thought, maybe this isn't the right place for me because they're more film studies. But then there were a lot of people there, faculty, other students that wanted it to be more production. So I thought about it. I looked into transferring, and then I said to myself, you know what? This could be a good opportunity. Maybe I can use this to my advantage to try and help grow this program. Maybe we can use this to get funding for things for the program. And so I decided to stay. One of my professors, Dr. Cynthia Barron, convinced me. Well, she was the one that originally told me you may want to transfer. And then after more discussions, convinced me to stay and kind of got on a plan. And so when I was there, I joined the film club, became president of that. And we held film festivals, organized film festivals, did that. And then I used that to my advantage to get guest speakers to come from Hollywood that had a connection to the university. And and I received the Dorothy and Lillian Gish scholarship there. They're connected. Eva Marie Saint is a graduate. Tim Conway. There's a lot of Hollywood power that came from this university. So I used that. Helped grow things there. And I think my second year there, we were able to get funding and we were able to get a Mac computer that had Final Cut Pro. So we could, because before we didn't have any editing software. And I was kicked out of a lab that I tried using that belonged to a different department. So that point too was motivation for me to be like, oh yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to fix this, because I thought it was so weird. I'm like, I'm paying to go to college here. Why I should have access to any lab, computer lab, but it didn't really work that way. So we created our own. And then if they try to use it, I'm like, nope, you got to go use yours.
Right. Hey, I got a question. Moorpark High School has a media production program. Have you had any involvement with that or, any engagement with the high school here?
No, I haven't. I actually didn't even know they had that, but I figured I'd find out when my kids got there.
Yeah, well, my son, both of my kids graduated from Moorpark High School, and my son was involved in that class, the media production class, and they created, a little short film. It's only probably a couple minutes, but as you were talking about like all these projects that you did, I just think that would be such an amazing way for you as a Moorpark community member, and this is kind of what you do to maybe check into that. So we'll have to talk about that, a little bit more offline. I'll have to send you a link to the video that my son created. It was super cool. I was so amazed that even in high school, how much they were learning about, editing and I mean, and they had to like set up all their own filming and do all their own stunts and do, all the stuff, add all the titles. Super cool. I just thought like, wow, in high school, they're getting access to that, and here we are, of course, 2023 compared to, 1999. Right. But anyway, something for us to, maybe help get you involved in the future. But so sure. you're working with bringing in people from Hollywood, right? And after college you graduated and that's when you relocated to come out here. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. So I graduated and then I stayed in Bowling Green for the summer, ripping out carpet and painting walls of houses that were rented, and
Mm,
made money doing that for the summer, and then used that money to move out to LA, and drove out and crashed on a family friend's floor for about a month, maybe longer,
mhm.
as long as I could stay before he was like, "All right, time's up." But we got an apartment in Mar Vista. So yeah, I basically yeah, the people that I brought out, I stayed in contact, and I interviewed one of them. His name is Kevin Cooper, and he was the uh, producer. There was a head of development of features at Digital Domain, and so I went and officially interviewed there, and they were going to hire me. And before I could actually complete everything, Digital Domain got sold to Michael Bay.
Hmm.
So Michael Bay bought the company, and Kevin used to be Michael Bay's assistant, and could not work for him ever again. so, so he then left Digital Domain and went on his own. And we still stay in touch. He's still producing to this day, but he wanted to still keep me on and hire me as his personal assistant, but like the pay wasn't there where I really needed it to be, so I couldn't really do that. And
Mhm.
then another guest I brought out, his name is he's a producer, Patrick Markey. Um, he he produced A River Runs Through It. Most recently, he produced the last season of Yellowstone.
Mm.
Um,
Love that show.
yeah, great show. And anyways, he brought me on to help as a production assistant for uh, a feature that they were shooting pickups for in LA. Bill Paxton was the star, one of the stars of it. So I got to work on that, got some experience there, and then my professor, Dr. Bear, and she had a friend that worked at Panavision uh, in Woodland Hills. So she told me just go over there and meet him and introduce myself and see what's going on. So I did that, and met some people there, and applied for a job, and was about to be hired for a job there in the remote systems department, which is like camera cranes and remote heads. And then right before I'm hired, Panavision gets sold to Revlon,
This is
a
a
big
theme.
corporation.
They hear you
Yeah, and
coming.
I'm like, what's going on? And so they were going to hire two people, and they didn't hire me. They hired the other person, and but there's another company called Service Vision that did rented similar equipment that was looking for someone, and they referred me over to them. So I took the job over there at Service Vision, and Service Vision now is like one of the leading companies with camera cranes and remote heads. Like any behind the scenes footage you see a crane telescoping or a remote head. It's like I would say 90% of the time it's their stuff. Um, so through that job, that's where I really got to get on set, get on some of these big movies, and really start my career um,
Yeah.
in production. But
And what is it? What is it that you've that fed that passion? So in high school you started as a filmmaker and putting this piece together, and you started working for these different companies. You obviously came to Hollywood with a big vision. What is it about the movie industry and production that really drew you to it?
I mean, it's so unique. It's it's an art form at the same time. It's also an industry. It's a business, and it's such a huge collaborative effort.
Hmm.
You have hundreds of people coming together on one project to achieve a vision. and putting all their effort in to try and make it as successful as possible. And I think that huge collaborative effort is what really draws me to it.
Hmm.
You get to be creative, you get to get paid fairly well for it, and it's fun. The
Yeah.
filmmaking process to me is a lot of fun. Um, I think that's what draws a lot of people to it. I don't feel like I'm at work. I
Hmm.
enjoy when you enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel like work, right?
Right.
So that's what really draws me to it. So
And on your downtime, I mean, obviously we talked about being huge Star Wars fans, but I mean, when you watch from the other side of the camera, so to speak, and you're watching the films and you're watching new movies, as someone that's involved in the industry. Well, let me back up a second. Let me start by saying, whenever I watch something that has to do with martial arts, like I'm always kind of critiquing certain things, like, oh, that's kind of out of place. Oh, that's not quite right. You know what I mean? Or with
mhm.
professional wrestling, like I watch all kinds of different stuff, and you just kind of nitpick it a little bit. So now back to my question: when you're watching movies, do you kind of sit there and nitpick it a little bit, or I mean, is that hard for you to watch through a movie without critiquing it?
uh, no, once I'm in there in the theater, like I'm pretty much there, just engaged in the story,
Hmm.
trying not to critique so much. Then I'll go back and watch something again, and then that's when I'll be like, I'll start
Hmm.
noticing things. Like initially, I don't, unless it was something that was really glaringly off or bad,
Hmm.
I don't really notice it. Uh, Things I'll notice is like how things are shot and their decisions they make. Like for example, last night I started watching The Haunted Mansion, and
Hmm.
there's a scene where the two characters talking to each other, and let's see if I can do it. They are like framed like this, and
Hmm.
there's all this space behind them. Where normally,
Hmm.
with that conversation, be framed like this, they'd be saying something, and then the next shot would
Hmm.
be like this.
Right.
But they had it done framed really the opposite way, and I was trying to understand the motivation behind that, why they would shoot it that way, because everything they do is for a purpose. There's a
Right.
storytelling element behind it, and so I'm still today trying to. I was thinking about that last night. I'm trying to figure out why they shot that way.
Hmm.
So, but
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I love everything about movies. I had the opportunity to be, kind of behind the scenes or kind of on set as an extra for a few different movies. Karate Kid 3 was, one of the bigger ones, and
oh
and I
wow,
remember even when I was like, I don't know, I must have been 17, and someone was shooting a karaoke video actually, and it was to Eye of the Tiger, and they wanted to have, like, so they had me as the bad guy, and but I love the process, right? I love the process of being behind the camera. I love learning. If I go to Universal Studios, my kids and my wife are like tugging on me, trying to pull me through the park, because I will stop at every sign and read every little piece about it. As a matter of fact, we were at a museum the other day, and I do that. I like kind of the backstory, or like you were saying, kind of the reason why they do certain things or their motivation behind it. I've read a lot of short stories or books about Walt Disney and his creative genius, and just other filmmakers. I'm just always so, I don't know, I'm just so drawn to how movies are made. Everything from the camera work to the acting to the editing to, and then you get into animation, and there's just so many aspects. So, kind of hone in a little bit more specifically on you know your skill sets and your strengths, as of right now, where you're focusing your efforts.
well, right now we're hopefully at the end of this really unprecedented strike that's been going on this year. The
Yeah.
writers have ended theirs. We're hoping SAG will conclude theirs, today or sometime this week. So, um, but right now, uh, we're still completely focused on camera rentals. But for me personally, something always comes out of these big events. There's going to be a technological shift.
Hmm.
We have AI in almost every aspect of everything that's done now.
Mhm.
So I've personally just really been experimenting with AI in movie making and in cinema, and trying to figure out where that's going to go, how it will impact what we do at Shadowcast Pictures, and how it will impact the industry as a whole, and try and make any adjustments on our end that we need to make to adjust with this. Because since I've been doing this, it's been technology shift after technology shift, and so it's just really part of my job that I have to do now. And
Yeah.
it's this is a big one. This is almost as big as the internet coming around. This is going to change things in a huge way. um, I don't think it's going to kill as many jobs as people think it could, but I think if it's managed well, uh, it could be really useful and really help creators. Um, so we'll see. Time
Yeah.
will tell. But
Yeah. Now this is not the first, this is not the first strike that you've been through, because as I read your bio earlier, back in 2007, there was a pretty challenging writer strike then, and I don't know if there's anything close in between then and now, but how much of an impact has that really made on the industry? I mean, you mentioned that it actually helps in a way because it helps you adjust. I mean, with technology, like literally changing daily, like it's
mhm.
happening so fast, right? But how did that, or better yet, how did you navigate through all of this? How did you have the fortitude to not give up and just like, maybe let's move on to something else, because
Yeah.
that's what many people will do is even though it's their passion. I mean, at the end of the day, like if it's not paying your bills and it's making your life more difficult, maybe we move on and try something else. So what made you stick with it, and how did you fight through those?
Well, I stuck with it because this is something I have a lot of passion for and love. And the 2007 strike, I didn't have my company. I was just working as a camera assistant on set, and I went from working a lot of days to like basically nothing.
Hmm.
And I was like everyone is now, I was collecting unemployment, and so I had a lot of free time. And so I decided to turn this big negative event into a positive. And so I was like, you know what? I think it's time to start my own company. And my idea was to start a production company, but be a fully encompassed company with basically all departments in house.
Hmm.
So I had a buddy that was a master at uh, sound design, everything audio, that could head up a post audio department, post production department. I had a friend that was really good at production managing, producing. So and then I knew all the camera side of everything. So we all came together, and I was the only one that wanted to take the big risk, that took the big risk to start the company. So they were partnered on it, but not actually on the company. Um, so we started this thing, took a huge risk, and it paid off. But it's like I'm like, okay, I'm going to start a company. How do I do this?
Hmm.
I didn't have any business experience. So basically, I bought a book. I think it was called "How to Start a Business in California." Read that. I spoke to an attorney friend and kind of went over everything, like what kind of company, do it a corporation, LLC, partnership, all the pros and cons, all that. So I got that figured out, and then I was like, okay, well, I need some money to start this.
That helps. Money
And
money usually helps
yeah,
start a business.
yeah. So I'm gonna rewind just a little bit. I think I need to tell this story, uh, because it's one of those things where like, you know, you never know what's going to happen in life, who you meet, what will come from any of it. So just treat everyone with respect and look at every every situation as an opportunity. And, so, like I said, we were in a farm town. So there was like a big open land area near my house. And I was probably in maybe middle school when this happened. But anyways, and I was young enough where we'd go build forts out in the woods. This is when kids could run around away from parents, where it was a different time. But so neighbor friend and I, we had a fort we had built that was by this creek, and we had a lot of rain and it washed it out. And so we went to it and it was all gone. And then there was a dead, might have been a groundhog or something lying there. And we're like, oh, we got to get this out of here. Well, the guy that owned the property had a bonfire going because we just had rain. So we had a bonfire. So we thought it was a bright idea to take this dead groundhog and throw it in this bonfire. So we went and did that, and it was a giant mistake. It smelled terrible. The whole area smelled terrible. So he came and he found us, and we apologized, and we went and took the partially burned up dead groundhog, and we buried it and gave it a proper burial. And
but did you film it?
No, we didn't film it. And so I had to make it up to this guy somehow. So he at the time still had a wood burning furnace in his house. So I agreed to go chop wood for him to make up for this. So I did that, and then I got to know him and his wife, and we became friends. And just from that, and so I would, he would hire me then to come and help with some chores around the property and things like that. So anyway, so during the strike, I came back to visit in Ohio, and I met up with him, went to go catch up, and I was telling him about my plan and start my company and what I was going to do. And I'd written a full business plan at this point. And so we're just chatting, and I was like, my next thing is trying to find some financiers, investors. So I laid out my plan for that. And he goes, well, what if I could help you with that? And I go, I mean, I'm going to need like hundreds of thousands of dollars to start this. And he's like, well, I might be able to help with that. I go, what? Really? And he's like, yeah, I could probably help with some seed money. And so he ended up coming through with a large amount of money to, he did a loan to me to start the company. So anyways, I was shocked because, I didn't really know what he had done for a living in the past, because he was basically retired at this point. He owned his own company, but anyways, he had done very well for himself in the plastics business, and was able to help us out. And and I didn't even have to ask for it. So I was like, what could be better than this? And
this is all coming from burning a groundhog.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That he helped give you the seed money to start your company.
Yeah.
Now, did he continue to be involved as Shadowcast was getting started? And do you still have contact with him today?
Yes, I do. Yeah, he's still involved. We did a couple more rounds of funding with him. He was involved in helping us with one of our productions that we went back to Ohio to shoot. So, and I talked to him the other day. We're still in touch, and he's been a great mentor over the years. So,
wow. And this all started when you were a teen. You were a teenager. Yeah. So, I mean, this is someone that you've grown up to, probably learn a lot from, especially, from the business side of things, someone that, that you could count on to help you finance your company and get started. But, I can think of a few people that as a teenager, you develop this relationship with someone that over the years, the relationship changes and grows, deeper. And it's just kind of a cool story to hear that this is a person that took you from burning a groundhog to helping you get your company started and still involved today. So now tell us, what is Shadowcast doing right now with the strike going on, and what are the plans moving forward as things start to lift?
So right now we're still renting. We're still renting cameras. There's still commercials going on.
Mhm.
There's documentaries. There's music videos, and there's like short films. A lot of people have been shooting short films right now.
Mhm.
Uh, so but it's not nearly enough to really kind of keep things going. So we've gone through and equipment that is nearing its end of life for us. We've turned around and sold some things to kind of keep things going. I don't like laying off employees, so we haven't done that. We've been fortunate where we haven't had to do that. So going forward, we're planning strategy. We're going to see how AI evolves even further. There's new technologies coming out that are going to be AI driven, that'll affect our industry. Again, some jobs will change. I think primarily one of the shifts I see is Netflix has developed a technology for shooting against green screen. And a lot of people might not know this, but even though they shoot against green screen, blue screen, they don't always get a perfect mask to replace the background from that. So they have to go through and do something called rotoscoping, where someone frame by frame manually cuts out like pieces of hair, things like that, and it's frame by frame around the characters. And and you've probably seen like Mandalorian, they shoot in the volume stage with the LED backgrounds and all that. They are still rotoscoping a lot of that also. But I think once this technology really gets out there, rotoscoping is going to be a less common tool that's used. But I think those jobs will shift into compositing with this new AI tool. And it's something where you shoot your scene and then you reshoot it like similar, same way. It doesn't have to be exact, but using magenta light. And then you plug it into this AI software and it's able to do a complete perfect mask. All that hair that you had a rotoscope is there. It doesn't look weird. It's perfectly masked. You can shoot through clear glass, does a perfect mask with that. So I think that's going to be where we're going to see a big change probably first. We're going to see there's new technology coming out that's going to mount to cameras that does motion tracking. So we're going to see more metadata going into our digital files. And so that's going to help with visual effects down the line. So those are kind of the things we're trying to prepare for and see what's going to come. But everything's going in data. So wherever data can be compiled, it'll be used. So the other thing that we've shifted towards recently is because cameras are digital, most of them now. Not everything is shot digitally, but a lot of films are. And the sensors are better, larger, capturing more data, and the images are looking so clean and crisp now, like on modern glass, that filmmakers want to have some character. So what they're doing now is they're wanting to use older vintage glass that has some character, that doesn't look so clean and sharp, and they're using that to try and make it look more cinematic.
Wow.
To fulfill their vision. So we've gone and taken tons of old 1950s, 60s, 70s DSLR type lenses and rehoused them into cinema housings. primarily with a company located here in Los Angeles called Zero Optic, and they've been hugely popular. They cover all the largest sensors out there, and that's been a shift we've seen happen that we kind of got ahead of right away. We, essentially helped develop some of these first, versions of these lenses because really us and another company were the only ones really diving into it early on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's one
Wow.
place we're seeing a
That,
shift.
that's it's pretty crazy that it's so good that it's like you're turning it back a little bit to give it that character, like you said. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's so interesting.
So your ideal project, though, you said early in the interview today, was to get involved with something Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
what needs to happen to make that happen? I mean, we're here live, we're online, people are going to see this. Somebody knows somebody. What needs to happen?
well, we did a independent film. I want to say it was 2011. Uh, we did this film called Short Term 12, and this film launched the careers of a lot of people. Brie Larson, uh, Rami Malek, they were in this. They were not really household names
Hmm.
when this came out, and now they're doing, Marvel movies or they're Oscar winners. And so the director, Destin Cretton, he directed Shang-Chi,
Hmm.
and we'd done several films with him, and his director of photography, Brett Pollock, he's kept on virtually all of his productions, except he wasn't able to get him on to Shang-Chi. It's just once you get to that whole different level, there's different set of criteria, politics involved, things
Sure.
like that. But since then, he was able to hire Brett. They went after he did Shang-Chi. They did American Born Chinese, and so Brett is now in the Marvel Club, essentially. And and Destin is now supposed to direct, I think, the next Avengers film
Wow.
set to come
Cool.
out. So, Brett was just here last week. We were doing some lens tests and camera tests. So I told him, I'm like, Brett, you're in the club now. When you get called to do the next Star Wars show, you better call me. We need to be on it. I'm like, I'll give them everything.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's awesome. Well,
I
good.
just
I mean,
want,
good luck. Good luck with that. Hey, I want to
yeah.
ask you. I want to ask you about something more local. Moorpark Film Festival, right? This was part of our Moorpark Morning Rotary Club. Something that you were a part of helping found. First of all, you had done film festivals, early in your career, so this is right up your alley, and you brought it here to Moorpark, and we're getting ready to plan for next year to bring it back because it's been now. We didn't have it this year, and we didn't have it last year. Is that right?
Uh, yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I
Did we
think we
skip 2
had
years?
it. 21 was
Mm-hmm.
when we did it. So yeah, we didn't have it
We
last
skipped
year.
22, skip 23, but we're
Yeah.
bringing it back. So tell everybody a little bit about the Moorpark Film Festival. What are your goals for the program, and what goes into planning that event?
I mean, it's a huge effort to plan an event like that. But, we want to put something on the map, film related for Moorpark. We've had a lot of movies, TV shows shoot film in Moorpark. We have a historic theater in the heart of our downtown area. It was originally started as a movie theater, single screen movie theater. Now it can be used that way, but it's more primarily used as a stage play theater, and they've been
Mm-hmm.
really successful at that. Um, but I think the film festival is honoring the history of that theater, the heritage of Moorpark, and also, it's a way to bring this collaborative community together and hopefully help young filmmakers or new filmmakers get their start, get their
Hmm.
careers, get their films seen by people, have the experience of seeing it in a theater with an audience and hearing the reaction.
Hmm.
I want people to feel that the way that I felt it to the faculty at my high school. Uh,
Yeah.
so because it could have a profound effect on someone, and and it's a good event to have to bring the people of Moorpark together. I mean, the first year we did it, we started off by having a screening of The Biggest Little Farm, which was a documentary, very critically acclaimed, uh, up for Oscar consideration, that was filmed entirely in Moorpark, and it had already been out on in theaters and digital for quite a long time before we had this screening, and we sold out. People showed up to see it in Moorpark on the big screen, and I think the big screen movie experience is important. I think it's the best way to view any any film, any form of cinema. I would much rather prefer that over watching it on a cell phone. It's part of our culture, our American culture. It was the first cameras were invented here, so I think we need to keep this part of our culture alive and thriving. And if by doing that means getting young people to have their films shown in a theater and get to experience that, I think that's what we need to do. Because I would hate to see a day where we're no longer going to movie theaters. Um,
Well,
I think
I
there's
gotta ask, I gotta jump in on that because we probably both grew up like going to the drive-in, right? Like, and there's no more drive-ins. Like
yeah,
you can barely find a drive-in. I loved it. I mean, we had one here in Simi Valley, and I can remember. Matter of fact, I think I saw Empire Strikes Back at that Simi Valley drive-in.
yeah,
And we have these multi megaplex cinemas, movie theaters where 15, 20 theaters, and you've seen over the years they're kind of dwindling and downsizing. And because during COVID, a lot of films, a lot of movies were released on pay-per-view. Like I could just order it from my phone. I mean, and we can still do that, right? There is something about being in a movie theater. For me, it's popcorn, right? Just the smell of popcorn and having, you know, but that experience of the big screen really is different than sitting in your living room or sitting, watching it on your phone or whatever. But do you think that we might see even more of a decline of the big screen?
I really hope not. I think this weekend we're going to see a turning point in cinema
Mm-hmm.
and how distribution is handled. Taylor Swift's concert film releases, I believe, this weekend. I mean, it's sold out. It's sold out over 100 million, I think, in pre-sales. This is a huge shift, uh, and now Beyonce is doing the same thing. And what's different about this is she didn't go to like Disney or Warner Brothers or anyone like that to distribute for her. She went directly to AMC, the number one theater chain. And I was like, hey, will you distribute my concert film? And they're doing it. So now you have a movie theater chain that's distributing a movie, not just to their own theaters, but to all the theaters. And I think that's going to be, I mean, that's something we don't really see happen often. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to create a lot of opportunities. Um, and I think it's going to cause a shift. I think it's going to maybe wake up the studios a little bit and say, hey, people still want to see movies in movie theaters. no matter what it is. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we'll see the movie theaters start dying off. I don't think we're going to see a lot of new ones being built anytime soon. So don't look
Yeah.
for a new Cinemaplex in your neighborhood.
Man, I wish we could
Uh,
get one in Moorpark.
I know.
Every
Wouldn't that be
day
amazing?
and I'm always telling Ken, show more movies over at High Street Theater. But they do have a very
Yeah.
successful live show that they do. Several live shows and productions that they do. So I get it. But man, I miss having a theater. I don't want to go over the hill. I don't have to go to Studio Movie Grill and see me, or go out to Camarillo or whatever. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But I'm definitely looking forward to the film festival with our morning Rotary Club being kind of the host of that event, and bringing it back. My wife and I went 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, because we went 2 years in a row, and it's just so much fun, to see a film that just kind of an independent film, right? Someone, a young kid or young adult that puts something together and gets to highlight their work. And then also you had some of the actors and you had the directors there, and kind of a meet and greet type event. So anybody that really can appreciate all aspects of the film industry, coming and seeing the shows is really fun, and meeting people and talking to people about the behind the scenes. That's also really fun, because they did the Q&A after some of the films. I thought that was fun. And more information about how the film was created, or what the motivation behind it was. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to bringing that back. What month are we shooting for?
That's going to be September of 2023, or sorry, 2024.
Yeah, September.
Um,
Cool.
let's see. I can look up the exact dates. I don't remember offhand.
No, that's okay. But September, and I know that we've got a pretty good creative genius that's going to help us with marketing the event, right?
Yeah,
Our
yes.
president might be able to get a few people there. Miss
Yeah,
Jackie
I
Flame,
think so.
all things Moorpark.
Yeah,
No,
for
that's
sure.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey Jay, listen, go ahead.
No, I just
Last
want to
thoughts.
say one more thing. One more thing
Yeah.
I think is important.
Sure.
From an example of being motivated and taking a bad situation and turning it into a positive. So when I started the company, I had my angel investor, but he couldn't get funds to me like till a certain date. But I wanted to get things started sooner. So I still needed money to file the business taxes and legal entities and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're in a strike. I'm on unemployment, just getting by. And so what I did was, what video game system came out in 2007 that was really popular? Do you remember? And impossible to get.
No, I mean Nintendo Wii. I don't.
Yeah, that's it. Nintendo Wii. And so I had all this free time. So I would go to video game stores every morning, right when they opened. I would try and figure out who was going to have stock of the Nintendo Wii. And I would get there and I would buy one, and then I would go list it on eBay. And yeah, I was one of those guys selling overpriced and get video game consoles on eBay. So, but people would pay double or triple the price, to get it for Christmas. So I sold a bunch of those, made a lot of profit, and used that money to, file for my LLC, the initial taxes, business license, all of that, to get things started. So from selling Nintendo Wii. So I took that downtime and used it to turn it into something.
Where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you just created a way. I mean, that's where the passion for such a project is so great, that you were willing to just do whatever you had to do, whatever you could do to make it happen. And I mean, I love hearing stories like that, where someone has a dream of doing something, and and probably every obstacle thrown in your way, every little setback, every little but the passion and the dream just kept you forging forward, and here you are, right? I mean, you're right at the end of this strike, and I'm hoping that things go really, really well and smooth sailing from here. And again, I'm super excited, looking forward to being a part of the Moorpark Film Festival as well. So I want to thank you, Jay, for being on the show and sharing your story. I learned so much about you and so much from you at the same time, and it's really cool. We'll have to talk more movie stuff offline, but looking forward to the film festival and looking forward to your continued success.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, we could we could do a whole episode on stories from some of these movies I've been on.
No, that's
But yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, for everybody that watched us live here today, I have a few favors. Number one, go to Master Motivation Podcast on YouTube and subscribe. And Jay, your channel is
Right now I've got this new channel. It's Jay's World 411. It's an experiment that I've had going, trying to learn more about AI, how it will be used, how it's being used to drive content. But it's more of a personal channel for me. My company channel is at youtube.com at Shadowcast Pictures. But this one, I'm going to talk about some other things I've been doing. I've been struggling with weight loss for years, and I've read lots of books, watched lots of videos. I've had a lot of success. So I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes years ago, and have had to manage that. And there's a way to end it. And so this is content that's going to be coming where I'm going to give tips, small little adjustments in your diet in life that can make a huge difference. And my goal is to become, diabetes free, like in the next year. It can be done. People do it. Yeah. So that's I'm gonna kind of chronicle this journey that I've been on.
Well, guys, go check out those channels: Master Motivation Podcast, Shadowcast Pictures, and Jay's World 411. And also do us a favor: share the video, share this link, and let our friends and family check it out, learn more about Jay, learn more about his amazing story with Shadowcast Pictures. And we'll see who we have coming up next, guys. So stay tuned. Many more guests coming up. Almost all the way booked for 2024 already. So if you would like to be a guest, or you know someone who would make a great guest, please hit me up and let me know. But for now, guys, go out and have a great week. And Jay, we'll see you real soon.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.